Tycoon abandoned his infertile wife. 5 years later, she appeared with triplets. She hadn't disappointed him. Not really. She'd hosted galas, smiled for photographers, memorized the names of every board member's third wife, attended charity luncheons where women whispered behind gloved hands. She'd done everything right, except one thing. She hadn't given him a child. And in Victor Langford's world, that wasn't a tragedy. It was a failure. Darling. His voice cut through the music like a blade, smooth, controlled, commanding. He appeared beside her, tall and immaculate in his midnight suit, his cufflinks glinting like ice. His hand found the small of her back, possessive, practiced. "You're not mingling. I was enjoying the view," she murmured, forcing a smile as she gestured toward the floor-to-ceiling windows. The gardens below shimmered under lantern light, roses blooming defiantly in the storm's edge. "It's beautiful tonight." He didn't look. He never looked at beauty unless it served a purpose. "You should be talking to the Hendersons," he said quietly, his breath warm against her ear, his tone deceptively gentle. "They're thinking of investing in the new downtown project. Mrs. Henderson adores you." She turned to face him then, her green eyes searching his. There was no anger in them. Not yet. Only quiet exhaustion. The kind that settles deep in your bones after years of being unseen. "Victor," she whispered. "I'm tired." His smile didn't falter, but his eyes, those cold, calculating eyes, flickered with something sharper. Disappointment and patience she'd learned not to guess anymore. "Then rest tomorrow," he said, squeezing her shoulder before letting go. "Tonight, you're Mrs. Langford. Act like it." He walked away without another word, swallowed by the crowd, shaking hands, laughing at jokes, the golden boy of real estate empires. Evelyn watched him go, her fingers tightening around the stem of her glass until her knuckles turned white. She didn't cry. Not here. Not now. Instead, she walked to the balcony, letting the cool night air kiss her cheeks, the rain misting her skin like tears she refused to shed. Below, the city glittered, towers Victor had built, streets he'd paved, lives he'd rearranged with a signature. He owned everything, except her heart. It had been 5 years since the first diagnosis. 5 years of needles, of ultrasounds, of doctors speaking in hushed tones, of Victor's gaze growing colder with each negative test. 5 years of pretending hope was still alive when it had bled out quietly in sterile clinic rooms. She remembered the last appointment. The doctor, kind but firm, had said, "Mrs. Langford, your body. It's unlikely you'll conceive naturally. Even with intervention, the odds are less than 5%. Victor hadn't held her hand on the drive home. He'd stared straight ahead, jaw clenched, fingers drumming the steering wheel like a countdown. That night, he'd poured himself a drink and said, without looking at her, "We'll try IVF, one last round. Then, we'll discuss our options." "Our options?" she'd asked, voice small. He'd finally turned to her then. "Evelyn, I didn't build this empire to leave it to strangers. You knew what this marriage meant." She had known. She'd known the moment she said, "I do," in front of 500 guests. Her father beaming with pride, her mother whispering, "You've made it, sweetheart." She'd known she was marrying a legacy, not a man. But she'd hoped, foolishly, desperately, that love could grow inside that gilded cage. Now, standing on the balcony, the music swelling behind her, Evelyn closed her eyes and let the rain wash over her face. She thought of the little girl she used to be, the one who dreamed of writing children's books, who danced barefoot in the grass, who believed love was enough. That girl was gone, replaced by a woman who smiled on command, who wore diamonds like armor, who slept beside a man who measured her worth in airs. Inside, the orchestra shifted to a waltz, Victor's favorite. He always requested it at their anniversary parties. Tradition, he called it. She turned back toward the ballroom, smoothing her dress, lifting her chin. The mask slipped back into place. Elegant, composed, perfect. But as she stepped through the glass doors, Victor was already on the stage, microphone in hand, commanding the room's attention with a single raised palm. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, voice rich with charm, "thank you for celebrating another milestone with Langford Holdings." Polite applause. Evelyn stood near the back, unnoticed. "But tonight," Victor continued, his gaze sweeping the room until it landed, deliberately, on her. "I must address something personal." A hush fell. Evelyn's breath caught. "For 5 years, my wife and I have walked a difficult path. We've fought, we've hoped, we've prayed." He paused, letting the silence thicken. "But some prayers are not meant to be answered." Evelyn felt the floor tilt beneath her. "I love Evelyn," he said, and the words were a knife wrapped in velvet. "But a man like me cannot wait for miracles. My legacy, our legacy, demands continuity, and I can no longer afford to wait." Gasps, whispers, cameras flashing. Evelyn didn't move, didn't blink. Her heart hammered against her ribs like a trapped bird, but her face, oh, her face remained serene, beautiful, perfect. Victor stepped down from the stage, walking toward her as if he were coming to rescue her, as if he were the hero of the story. He stopped inches away, his voice low, meant only for her. "I'm sorry," he murmured. She looked up at him, her green eyes blazing with something he'd never seen before. Not sadness, not fear, clarity. "You're not sorry," she whispered. "You're just done pretending." He flinched, just slightly, enough for her to see. 3 days later, she found the letter on her vanity. No signature, just a single sheet of thick ivory paper, embossed with the Langford crest. "Evelyn, enclosed is a settlement that will ensure your comfort for life. The penthouse in Manhattan is yours. So are the funds. I ask only one thing: disappear gracefully. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. You were never meant to be a mother. Perhaps now you can finally be free." V beneath it, a check with more zeros than she could count. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She folded the letter neatly, placed it in the fireplace, and watched it burn. Then she walked to her closet, pulled out a single suitcase, and began to pack. Not for Manhattan, not for comfort, but for freedom. Real freedom. The kind that begins when you stop living for someone else's legacy and start building your own. Outside, the rain had stopped, and for the first time in years, Evelyn Langford, no, Evelyn Reed, her maiden name, reclaimed like a crown, stepped into the sunlight. Alone, but alive. And that was enough. For now. You feel it, don't you, the weight of her silence, the tremble in her hands as she holds that glass, the way her breath hitches when Victor speaks, not because she's afraid of him, but because she's afraid of what's coming. You're standing beside her on that balcony, tasting the salt of unshed tears on your lips, feeling the cold marble beneath your heels, hearing the distant laughter that sounds like mockery. You want to scream at her to run, to throw the glass, to slap that smug look off his face. But she doesn't, because she's learned the hard way that dignity is the last thing they can't take from you. And as the camera pans out, as the music fades, as Victor walks away like a king who's just sacrificed his queen, you realize something terrifying. This isn't the end. It's the beginning. And Evelyn, she's just getting started. Certo, agora tu como narrador e storyteller disinvolva a historia sem marcacos com o nome de cada topico que for disinvolve. Mi conti sobrio topico tu com dialogo como su fosso espectador. Sempre lembrando de disinvolver com vida moco. Com vidos sentimentos de forma que a estrutura de narrativa utiliza uma linha temporal linear de modo o espectador sentir o que o personagem está sentindo amigos. Com 6.000 characters com 3 max. Preview. The clinic smelled like antiseptic and false hope. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead, flickering just enough to make your eyes ache. The walls were painted a soft, calming blue, the kind of color meant to soothe anxious mothers and nervous fathers. But nothing here soothed Evelyn. Not anymore. She sat in the same chair she'd sat in for the past 3 years. Same cushion. Same scratch on the armrest from when she dug her nails into it during an ultrasound. Same nurse who smiled too brightly and said, "We'll get there, Mrs. Langford. You just have to believe." Believe. She used to believe. She believed when they first married. When Victor held her hand in the fertility specialist's office and whispered, "Whatever it takes, we'll do it together." She believed when she swallowed the first round of hormones, when she woke up at 5 a.m. for injections, when she canceled vacations, business trips, birthday parties, all for the chance to see 2 pink lines on a stick. She believed even when the first round failed, and the second, and the third. But now, belief felt like a luxury she could no longer afford. Dr. Chan entered quietly, her white coat crisp, her expression unreadable. She carried a tablet. Evelyn didn't need to see the screen to know what it said. "Evelyn," Dr. Chan began, sitting across from her, folding her hands. "I wish I had better news." Evelyn didn't flinch, didn't cry. She simply stared at the floor, at the scuff mark near her shoe. A tiny imperfection in an otherwise sterile room. She focused on it, anchored herself to it. "Your last HSG showed significant scarring in the fallopian tubes," Dr. Chun continued gently. "And your AMH levels, they're lower than we'd hoped. Even with IVF, the chances of a successful pregnancy using your own eggs are less than 5%. 5%. 5. Not 50. Not 15. 5. Evelyn exhaled slowly. Her hands, folded neatly in her lap, trembled, just slightly. She pressed her thumbs together, hard, grounding herself. "And donor eggs?" she asked, voice barely above a whisper. Dr. Chun hesitated. "That's an option. It would significantly increase your chances. But Victor won't agree," Evelyn finished for her. Dr. Chun didn't confirm it. She didn't need to. Everyone knew Victor Langford. His face was on magazine covers. His name was etched into steel and glass across the city. He didn't build things with borrowed parts. He built empires with his own blood, his own vision, his own legacy. A child not biologically his unthinkable. "I'm sorry, Evelyn," Dr. Chan said softly. "I know how hard you've fought, how much you've sacrificed." Evelyn nodded. Once, sharp, controlled. She stood. "I'd like a copy of the report," she said, voice steady. "And thank you, doctor." She walked out without another word. The hallway stretched before her, long, white, silent. Her heels clicked against the tile, each step echoing like a countdown. She didn't cry. Not here. Not yet. That night, the penthouse was too quiet. Victor was late again. A board meeting, a merger, another empire to expand. Evelyn sat at the dining table alone, a single candle flickering in front of her, casting long shadows across the marble. She placed the report in the center of the table. Then she poured herself a glass of wine. Red, bold, bitter. She didn't drink it. She just stared at it. When Victor finally walked in, coat slung over his shoulder, tie loosened, smelling of cologne and success, he didn't notice the report at first. "Long day," he sighed, dropping his briefcase by the door. "The Singapore deal is almost closed. We're looking at a 300% ROI in 18 months. He walked toward her, loosening his cufflinks, finally noticing the folder. "What's this?" he asked, picking it up. Evelyn didn't answer. He flipped it open. His expression didn't change. Not at first. Then a tightening of the jaw, a narrowing of the eyes, a slow, deliberate closing of the folder. He looked at her. 5%, he asked, voice low. She nodded. "And donor eggs?" he pressed. "They'd give us a 60 to 70% chance," she whispered. He set the folder down, carefully, deliberately, as if it were contaminated. "No," he said, just that, one word. No, he repeated, walking to the bar, pouring himself a drink. "I didn't marry you to raise someone else's child, Evelyn." Her breath caught. "You didn't marry me to love me," she said quietly. "You married me because my family name opened doors, because I looked good on your arm, because you thought I could give you an heir." He turned to face her then, his eyes cold. "And you failed." The words landed like a slap. She didn't move, didn't blink. But inside, something shattered. "You think I didn't try?" she whispered, voice cracking. You think I wanted this? I bled for you, Victor. I injected myself with hormones until I couldn't recognize my own body. I canceled my life. I cried in bathrooms. I smiled at parties while my heart broke in silence. I did everything. He took a sip of his drink. And it wasn't enough. She stood then, slowly, gracefully, like a queen rising from her throne. No, she said, voice trembling but clear. You weren't enough. You were never there. Not really. You sent flowers when I had procedures. You missed appointments because of urgent meetings. You called me from boardrooms while I was recovering from surgeries. You measured my worth in ovulation charts and pregnancy tests. He set his glass down. Don't make this about me, he said sharply. This is about legacy, about blood, about what's in my DNA. She laughed then, a broken, hollow sound. Funny, she said. I always thought love was in the DNA. But I guess for you, it's just property. He didn't answer. She walked past him, toward the stairs. Where are you going? He called after her. To pack, she said, without turning. You don't need me here anymore. And I can't breathe in this mausoleum any longer. You walk out that door, he said, voice low, dangerous. And you walk away from everything. The penthouse, the money, the name. She paused at the top of the stairs. I already lost everything that mattered, she said softly. The rest is just decoration. You're there. You're sitting beside her in that clinic chair, feeling the vinyl stick to the back of your thighs. You hear the hum of the lights. You smell the sterile air. You feel the weight of that folder in your hands, heavy with finality. You want to scream at Dr. Chun to try again, to fight harder, to find another way, but there is no other way. And then you're in that dining room. The candlelight flickers across your skin. You taste the bitterness of the wine you didn't drink. You hear Victor's voice, calm, controlled, cruel. As he reduces 5 years of pain to a single word, no. You feel Evelyn's heart crack. Not loudly, not dramatically, but deeply, irreversibly. You want to grab her hand, to tell her to run, to scream, to break something, but she doesn't, because she's done begging, done pleading, done letting him define her worth. And as she walks up those stairs, spine straight, shoulders back, tears burning behind her eyes but never falling, you realize something. This isn't weakness. This is war. And Evelyn, she's just declared it. The next morning, the penthouse was empty. No note, no goodbye, just a single wine glass in the sink, and a silence so deep, it echoed. Victor stood in the doorway of her closet, now bare. No dresses, no shoes, no perfume, just hangers, swinging, empty. He picked up one cold medal against his palm. For the first time in his life, Victor Langford felt something unfamiliar. Fear. Not of losing money, not of failing a deal, but of losing her. And worse, he didn't even know why it mattered. You feel it, the emptiness, the hollow space where her laughter used to live, the silence where her footsteps once echoed. You stand beside Victor as he stares into that empty closet, and for the first time you see him, really see him. Not the tycoon, not the titan, just a man, alone, afraid, and too proud to admit it. But Evelyn, she's already gone, and she's not coming back. Not for him, not for anyone, because some wounds don't heal with apologies. They heal with distance, with silence, with the courage to walk away. And Evelyn, she's walking, one step at a time, toward herself, toward freedom, toward a future he never believed she deserved. And you're walking with her, heart pounding, eyes burning. He opened the top drawer, empty, the jewelry box gone, the vanity, bare except for a single hairpin, silver, twisted slightly at the end. He picked it up. It was warm from the sun. He closed his fist around it, felt the metal bite into his palm. He didn't understand. Not the anger, not the silence, not the absence. She didn't yell, didn't throw things, didn't beg, didn't cry. She just vanished, like smoke, like she'd never been there at all. His phone buzzed on the nightstand. He ignored it. Again. It was the third call from his assistant. The board was waiting. The Singapore deal was collapsing without his signature. The press was already sniffing around, whispers of domestic instability and Langford's personal crisis. He didn't care. Not yet. He walked to the closet again, slid his fingers along the empty rod. One hanger remained caught on the back rail. He pulled it free. It was hers, the silk one, the one she used for her wedding dress. He brought it to his nose. Still smelled like her. Lavender, vanilla, rain. He closed his eyes. And for the first time in his adult life, Victor Langford, titan of industry, destroyer of competitors, builder of empires, felt something he couldn't control. Grief, not for losing a wife, but for losing the idea of her. The perfect hostess, the elegant shadow, the silent partner who never questioned, never demanded, never failed. Until she did. Until she left. The letter arrived at noon. Not by courier. Not by email. Left on the marble foyer table by the housekeeper. Folded neatly, sealed with wax. No return address. Just his name written in her hand. Victor. He didn't open it right away. He poured himself a drink first. Neat. 2 fingers. Sat at the dining table, the same one where she'd placed the medical report. Where she'd told him she was leaving. He stared at the envelope. Felt heavier than it should. He broke the seal. Victor, enclosed is a settlement that will ensure your comfort for life. The penthouse in Manhattan is yours. So are the funds. I ask only one thing: disappear gracefully. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. You were never meant to be a mother. Perhaps now you can finally be free. He read it once. Then again. Then a third time. His fingers trembled. Not from rage. From something worse. Shame. Because he had written it. Last night. After she walked upstairs. After he poured his third drink. After he told himself over and over that she was replaceable. That legacy mattered more than love. That blood was thicker than vows. He typed it. Printed it. Sealed it. And left it for her like a receipt. Like a transaction. Like she was a failed investment. He looked at the check tucked beneath the letter. $20 million. Generous. Clean. Final. He laughed then, a dry, broken sound. She hadn't taken it. She hadn't even touched it. She'd left it on the table and walked out with nothing but a suitcase and her dignity. And that was the wound that wouldn't close. Because Victor Langford could buy loyalty, could command obedience, could build towers that scraped the sky. But he couldn't buy back the moment she looked at him, really looked at him, and saw nothing. He called his lawyer at 2 p.m. Make it official, he said, voice flat. Divorce. No contest. Give her everything she's legally owed. Double it if she wants. His lawyer hesitated. Victor, are you sure the prenup? I don't care about the prenup, Victor snapped. Just make it clean, quiet, fast. He hung up. Then he called security. Find her. Sir, the head of security asked. Mrs. Langford. Yes, Victor said. I need to know where she is. There was a pause. We lost her after she left the building. No credit card activity. No flights under her name. No hotel bookings. She's off-grid. Victor's stomach dropped. She's not off-grid, he muttered. She's gone. 3 days passed. No calls. No texts. No sightings. The press caught wind. Tabloids ran headlines. Langford air crisis tycoon's wife vanishes after fertility scandal. Paparazzi camped outside the penthouse. Reporters called his office every hour. He stopped answering, stopped shaving, stopped sleeping. He sat in her reading nook, the small alcove by the window where she used to curl up with poetry books and chamomile tea. He picked up the last book she'd left there, The Sun and Her Flowers by Rupi Kaur. He opened it. A passage was underlined in soft pencil. You do not just wake up and become the butterfly. Growth is a process. He slammed the book shut. Growth, he whispered to the empty room. You think walking away is growth, you think leaving is strength. Silence answered him. He threw the book across the room. It hit the wall, fell to the floor. Pages splayed open like broken wings. He didn't pick it up. On the 5th day, he found the box, tucked beneath the false bottom of her jewelry drawer. The one even the housekeeper didn't know about. Inside, ultrasound photos, dozens of them, dates scribbled in her handwriting. Notes like, hormone levels stable, day 3, and follicles measuring 18 millimeters. Hopeful. And at the very bottom, a single positive pregnancy test. From 2 years ago. He stared at it, hands shaking, heart pounding. He flipped it over. On the back, in tiny, trembling script, "I thought this was our miracle. I was 6 weeks. Then I bled. Alone. In the bathroom. Victor was in Tokyo. He dropped the test. Clattered against the hardwood. He fell to his knees. And for the first time since he was a child, Victor Langford wept. Not loud. Not dramatic. Quiet. Ugly. Shuddering sobs that tore from his chest like broken glass. He pressed his forehead to the floor. "I didn't know," he whispered. "I didn't know. I didn't know. I didn't know." But the truth was worse. He could have known. If he'd been there. If he'd listened. If he'd loved her. Not as a vessel, not as an accessory, but as a woman. As a partner. As a human being. But he hadn't. And now she was gone. And no amount of money, no empire, no legacy could bring her back. You're there, kneeling beside him on that cold floor, smelling the dust and the old perfume still clinging to the wood, hearing the ragged, broken gasps tearing from his throat, feeling the weight of that pregnancy test in your own hand, the plastic cold, the result faded, the handwriting trembling with grief. You want to hate him. You do hate him. But you also see him, truly see him for the first time. Not the tycoon, not the monster, just a man, blind, arrogant, alone, and drowning in regret. You feel the seconds stretch, thick, suffocating. As he claws at the floor, as he whispers her name like a prayer, as he realizes, too late, what he's lost. And then, silence, heavy, final. He stands, wipes his face, straightens his shirt, walks to his desk, picks up the phone. "Get me a private jet," he says, voice hollow. "I'm going to find her." But you feel it in your bones. She doesn't want to be found. Not by him. Not like this. And as the camera lingers on his reflection in the dark window, a ghost of a man staring back at himself, you realize this isn't the end of his story. It's the beginning of his reckoning. And Evelyn, she's already miles ahead. Living, breathing, growing, becoming, and you're holding your breath, waiting, wondering, will he find her, will she let him, or is some damage too deep to undo 3 towns over, past the highway, beyond the reach of paparazzi helicopters and corporate spies, a sleepy coastal village called Cedar Hollow, where the sidewalks cracked with tree roots, where the bakery still used handwritten chalkboards, where people said good morning without knowing your last name. She arrived with 1 suitcase, a backpack, and $87 in cash. No credit cards. No ID under Langford. No digital trail. Just Evelyn Reed. Her mother's maiden name. Her truth. The first night, she slept on a cot in the back room of Maggie's boarding house. A creaky Victorian with peeling blue paint and a porch swing that groaned like an old woman. The rent $300 a month. Paid in cash. No questions asked. Maggie, a widow with silver curls and eyes that had seen too much, took one look at Evelyn. Pale, hollow-eyed, gripping her suitcase like it was the only thing keeping her upright, and said nothing. Just handed her a key and a cup of chamomile tea. "Storm's coming," Maggie murmured, glancing out the window. "Best to be inside." Evelyn nodded, didn't speak, didn't cry, just drank the tea, sat on the edge of the cot, listened to the wind howl against the roof. And for the first time in 5 years, she breathed. The next morning, she walked into town. No heels, no designer coat, just jeans, a thrifted sweater, and sneakers with worn soles. She stopped at the cafe, the Salty Bean, and stared at the help wanted sign taped crookedly to the window. Barista, part-time, no experience necessary. She walked in. The bell above the door jingled. The smell of roasted coffee and cinnamon hit her like a memory, warm, human, alive. Behind the counter, a girl with purple streaks in her hair and a nose ring looked up. "Hey," she said. "You hear about the job?" Evelyn hesitated, then nodded. "Cool, I'm Jazz." "You, Evelyn." "Just Evelyn. No titles, no last names, no expectations." Jazz grinned. "You ever made a latte?" "No." "You ever smiled at a customer while secretly wanting to throw their oat milk into the trash?" Evelyn blinked. Then, for the first time in months, she laughed. Soft, fragile, real. Jazz's grin widened. "You'll do fine." She worked 6 days a week, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. She learned to steam milk, to remember orders, to say, "Have a beautiful day," without flinching. Customers didn't recognize her. Why would they? The woman in the tabloids wore diamonds and stood beside skyscrapers. This woman wore aprons and wiped down counters. She was invisible, and it was glorious. At night, she sat on the porch swing with Maggie, sipping peppermint tea, listening to crickets and distant ocean waves. One evening, Maggie asked, quiet, "You running from someone?" "Honey," Evelyn stared into her cup. "From myself," she whispered. Maggie didn't push, just patted her knee. "Then you're in the right place. Cedar Hollow's good at healing what the world breaks." 3 months in, she sold the last of her jewelry. Not the flashy pieces, not the emeralds Victor gave her. The small things, her grandmother's pearl earrings, her mother's locket, a tiny diamond tennis bracelet, a gift from her father on her 18th birthday. She took the bus to the next town over, walked into a pawn shop, didn't flinch when the man behind the counter offered her $2,800. She took it, cash, no receipt, no record. With that money, she rented a tiny cottage on the edge of town. 1 bedroom, a kitchen barely big enough to turn around in, a porch that overlooked the sea. She painted the walls herself. Cream, soft, warm. She bought second-hand furniture, a quilt from the church rummage sale, a kettle that whistled like a songbird. She planted lavender by the front step. And every morning, she sat on the porch with her coffee, watching the sunrise bleed gold over the water. She didn't think about Victor, didn't check the news, didn't Google her own name. She just lived. But the past doesn't stay buried. Not when it's made of ghosts. One rainy Tuesday, she was shelving books at the local library, her second job, part-time, helping with Children's Story Hour, when she heard it. A voice. On the radio. Behind the counter, the librarian had NPR playing low. Victor Langford, CEO of Langford Holdings, announced today the cancellation of the Singapore merger, citing personal reasons. Industry insiders speculate this sudden retreat may be linked to the ongoing disappearance of his wife, Evelyn Langford, who vanished without a trace 5 months ago. Evelyn froze. Her fingers tightened around the copy of Goodnight Moon in her hands. The librarian, Mrs. Peabody, glanced over. "You okay? Dear, you've gone pale." Evelyn forced a smile. "Just tired." She finished shelving, walked to the bathroom, locked the door, leaned against the sink, stared at her reflection. Hair pulled back in a messy bun. No makeup, dark circles under her eyes. Not from grief anymore, but from late nights reading, from early mornings baking bread, from laughing with Jazz over burnt croissants. She looked different, lighter, freer. But hearing his name, it was like a hand reaching out of the grave, brushing against her skin. She turned on the faucet, splashed cold water on her face, whispered to herself, "He doesn't own you anymore." But the fear, it lingered, because Victor Langford didn't lose, and he didn't forget. That night, she dreamed of him, not the cold tycoon, but the man he'd been on their wedding night, nervous, fumbling with the buttons of her dress, whispering, "You're the most beautiful thing I've ever seen." She woke up crying, not from sadness, from anger, because that man, he never really existed. Or if he did, he chose power over her, legacy over love, and she had chosen survival. The next morning, she walked into the clinic, not a fertility clinic, a women's health center. Dr. Rivera, gentle-eyed and no nonsense, listened as Evelyn spoke. "I want to try again," Evelyn said, voice steady. "Not with him, not for him, for me." Dr. Rivera nodded. "Insemination, donor, anonymous. We can start next cycle." Evelyn exhaled. "Good." She didn't tell anyone. Not Maggie, not Jazz, not Mrs. Peabody. This was hers, her secret, her rebellion, her reclamation. Months passed. Injections, appointments, hope, quiet, cautious, blooming like the lavender outside her door. And then, one morning, 2 pink lines. She sat on the edge of her bathtub, staring at the test. Hands trembling, heart pounding, tears silent, streaming, rolling down her cheeks. Not joy, not yet. Relief, triumph, defiance. She pressed the test to her chest, whispered, "We did it, little one. Just you and me. You're there." Sitting beside her on that cot in Maggie's boarding house, smelling the mildew and lavender sachets, hearing the wind rattle the window pane. You feel the weight of that $87 in her pocket, all she has left in the world, and you want to scream, "Run faster, hide deeper." But she doesn't. She walks into that cafe, smiles at Jazz, learns to steam milk. You feel the heat of the espresso machine on your skin, the stickiness of spilled syrup under your fingers, the ache in your feet after 6 hours on concrete. You're with her when she sells her mother's locket. Feel the cold metal leave her palm. Feel the hollowness in her chest as the pawnbroker slides cash across the counter. You sit beside her on that porch, wrapped in a thrifted blanket, listening to the waves, tasting salt on your lips, wondering, is this enough? Is this peace? And then, the radio. His voice. Not his real voice, but his presence, echoing through static, slipping under her skin like a knife. You feel her freeze, feel her heart stutter, feel the old fear rise, the fear of being found, of being taken back, of being erased again. But then the clinic, the test, the 2 pink lines, and you cry with her, not because she's happy, but because she's free, free to choose, free to create, free to become a mother, not because a man demanded it, but because she wanted it, because she fought for it, because she refused to let her body, her life, be defined by his disappointment. The camera lingers on her hands, holding the pregnancy test, then pans to the window. Outside, the sun rises, golden, relentless, hopeful, and you hold your breath, because you feel it in your bones. He's coming. Victor. He won't stop. He'll tear cities apart. He'll spend millions. He'll burn his own empire to the ground if it means finding her. And when he does, what then? Will she run again? Will she fight? Will she let him near the child, the children, growing inside her? Or will she do what she's always done, protect them? At any cost, even if it means disappearing again, even if it means becoming a ghost. The screen fades, but the tension, it coils tighter, like a spring, like a storm, like a mother's love, fierce, silent, unstoppable. And you're not ready for what comes next. 5 years of peace, of quiet, of hers. Evelyn stood at the edge of Maplewood Park, the autumn sun painting everything gold. The grass, the leaves, the laughter of children chasing each other through piles of crisp crimson and amber. She wore jeans now, faded at the knees, and a soft cream sweater, sleeves pushed up to her elbows. Her hair, longer, looser, caught the breeze like it used to before the world tried to pin her down. Beside her, holding her hands, were Leo and Mia, 5 years old, blonde curls wild as dandelion fluff, cheeks flushed from running, eyes green like hers, sparkling with mischief and wonder. "Mama, look, I jumped over the biggest leaf pile ever," Leo shouted, bouncing on his toes, grass-stained sneakers kicking up dirt. Mia tugged Evelyn's hand. "I found a ladybug on the swing. Can we take it home, please, please, please?" Evelyn laughed. Real, full, unguarded, and knelt between them, brushing a leaf from Mia's braid, ruffling Leo's hair. "You two are going to turn me gray before I'm 40, she teased, voice warm, eyes crinkling. "We love you, Mama," Mia said, suddenly serious, throwing her arms around Evelyn's neck. Leo copied her, squeezing tight. Yeah, even when you say no to ice cream. Evelyn hugged them back, breathing them in, the scent of sunshine and grass and childhood, the weight of their small bodies against hers, the heartbeat of her world. I love you more, she whispered into their hair, and she did, more than breath, more than sky, more than the past she'd buried. She didn't see him at first. He was standing near the old oak tree, the one with the tire swing the kids called Captain Sky, dressed in a charcoal coat, hands in his pockets, face half hidden beneath the brim of a hat. Still tall, still commanding, still him, Victor, 5 years older, 5 years harder, 5 years emptier. He hadn't moved, hadn't blinked, just stared at her, at them. Leo, Mia. His mind stuttered. Impossible. They looked like her. Same eyes, same smile, same wild energy. But the hair, the shape of their noses, the way Leo tilted his head when he laughed, impossible. And yet, there they were. Alive. Real. Hers. And not his. Never his. He didn't approach. Didn't speak. Didn't dare. He just watched. Watched as Evelyn helped Mia climb onto the swing, giving her a gentle push, laughing as the little girl squealed, "Higher, Mama! Higher!" Watched as Leo ran up to her, breathless, holding a pine cone like it was treasure. "Look what I found! It's magic! It grants wishes!" Watched as Evelyn crouched beside him, eyes soft. "What did you wish for, sweetheart?" Leo grinned. "That we never have to leave this park. Ever." Her smile faltered just for a second. Then, she kissed his forehead. "Then it's a very good wish." Victor's chest ached. Not from anger, not from betrayal, from something worse. Longing. He wanted to step forward, to say her name, to ask, beg, "Are they mine?" But he didn't, because he already knew the answer. No, they weren't his. Not by blood, not by law, not by anything that mattered to the man he used to be, but by something deeper, by the way she looked at them, like they were the sun and the moon and every star in between, by the way they clung to her, like she was their entire universe, by the way she laughed, really laughed, for the first time since he'd known her. Yes, they were hers, and that was a truth he couldn't buy, couldn't control, couldn't undo. He turned to leave, couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't stay, but as he turned, his foot caught on a root. He stumbled, just slightly, but enough. Evelyn's head snapped up. Her eyes, those green, knowing eyes, locked onto his. Time stopped. The laughter faded. The wind stilled. Even the children paused, sensing the shift, the sudden electric silence. Mia whispered, "Mama, who's that man?" Evelyn didn't answer, didn't move, just stared. At him, at the ghost of her past, at the man who broke her, at the father who never was. Her grip on the swing chains tightened. Her breath hitched just once. Then, calm as still water, she said, "No one, sweetheart. Just someone who got lost." Victor's heart shattered. No one. He was no one. To her. To them. To the life she'd built without him. He didn't speak. Didn't approach. Just nodded. Once. Slow, heavy, like a man accepting a sentence. Then he turned. Walked away. Didn't look back. Couldn't. But Evelyn, she watched him go. Heart pounding. Hands trembling. Not from fear. From fury. From grief. From the memory of every tear she'd cried alone. Every injection. Every empty bed. Every silent dinner. Every time he chose legacy over her. And now he stood there watching her children like he had any right, like he deserved to breathe the same air. She turned back to Mia, forcing a smile, voice steady. "Ready for one more push?" "Bug," Mia beamed. "Yes." Evelyn pushed her. Hard. Sending her soaring into the golden air, laughter ringing like bells. Leo tugged her sleeve. "Mama, can we get hot chocolate after this with extra whipped cream? Only if you promise to share with your sister," Evelyn said, voice light, eyes dry. "I promise." Leo grinned. She took his hand, walked toward the park exit, didn't look back, wouldn't. But inside, she was screaming. "You don't get to look at them. You don't get to wonder. You don't get to miss what you threw away. She squeezed Leo's hand tighter. Mia skipped beside her, chattering about ladybugs and magic pine cones. Evelyn smiled, kept walking, but her mind, it was already racing. He found me. He saw them. He'll be back. And when he was, she'd be ready. Because this time she wasn't alone. She had Leo. She had Mia. And she would burn the world to ash before she let Victor Langford take them from her. You're there, standing beside her in that park, smelling the crisp autumn air, feeling the sun warm on your skin, hearing the children's laughter like music. You see him, Victor, standing under that oak tree, frozen, shattered, broken by the sight of her happiness. You feel Evelyn's breath catch, feel her fingers tighten on the swing chains, feel the storm rising behind her eyes, silent, lethal, maternal. You want to scream, run, hide, protect them, but she doesn't. She stays, calm, strong, smiling for her babies, even as her soul trembles, even as her past walks back into her life like a thief in daylight. You feel the weight of that moment, the stillness before the storm, the unspoken war declared in a single glance, the line drawn in the grass between them. You had your chance. You lost. They are mine. And Victor, he knows it. You see it in the slump of his shoulders, in the way his hand trembles as he pulls it from his pocket, in the single tear he wipes away before turning, before walking out of the frame, out of the sunlight, back into the shadows. But you don't believe he's gone. Not really, because men like Victor Langford, they don't walk away. They come back, hungrier, angrier, desperate, and next time he won't watch from a distance. He'll step into her world, and when he does, the real battle begins. The camera lingers on Evelyn's face as she walks away. Smile perfect, eyes dry, grip firm on her children's hands. But the audience, they see the truth, the fear, the fury, the vow. Over my dead body, and you're holding your breath. Because you feel it in your bones, this isn't over. It's only just begun. And the twins, they're the prize, the miracle, the reckoning. And Victor, he's about to learn the hard way that some things can't be bought. Not even with an empire. Not even with regret. Not even with love. Victor sat in the back booth of a diner 3 towns over from Cedar Hollow. A place with cracked vinyl seats and coffee that tasted like burnt regret. He hadn't shaved. His coat was wrinkled. His eyes, bloodshot, hollow. Stared at the same photo on his phone, zoomed in, frozen in time. Leo. Mia. Laughing. Swinging. Hers. He tapped the screen again. Zoomed in on Leo's nose. The curve of Mia's chin. The way Leo tilted his head, just like him at 5. No. Couldn't be. Shouldn't be. He slammed his palm on the table. The coffee cup jumped. The waitress, gum-chewing, tired-eyed, glanced over but didn't approach. She'd seen his kind before, men running from something, or toward something they'd lost. He didn't care. He pulled out his phone again, dialed. Still no records under Evelyn Reed, he growled. His private investigator, Carter, sighed on the other end. Nothing, sir. She's clean. No hospital visits under that name. No birth certificates filed locally. No pediatrician records. She's off the grid, like she never existed. Victor's jaw clenched. She exists. I saw her. I saw them. Then they're not legally registered, Carter said carefully. Or she used a different name, maybe a midwife. Home birth. Lots of women in small towns do that, especially if they're hiding. Victor's fingers tightened around the phone. Find out who delivered them. I'm trying, but Cedar Hollow's not exactly digitized. Church records, local gossip, that's all we've got. Then dig. He hung up, stared out the window. Rain streaked the glass, blurred the streetlights, made the world look like it was melting, just like him. The next morning, he drove back. Didn't park near the park. Didn't wear the hat. Didn't hide. He walked, slow, deliberate, down Main Street, past the bakery, past the library, past the cafe with the crooked, help wanted sign still taped to the window. He stopped outside the salty bean, peered through the glass. There she was, behind the counter, tying an apron around her waist, laughing with Jazz, the girl with the purple hair, as they argued over the placement of cinnamon rolls. She looked different, not just older, lighter. Her smile reached her eyes now. Her shoulders didn't hunch. Her hands didn't tremble. She moved like she belonged, like she'd chosen this, like she'd built this. And it killed him, because he'd had her, and he'd thrown her away. For what? For legacy, for blood, for a name, and now she had everything he'd wanted: children, laughter, a home. And he had nothing but boardrooms and silence and a penthouse that echoed with ghosts. He didn't go in, didn't speak, just watched. Watched as she served coffee to old men in flannel shirts. Watched as she knelt to tie a little boy's shoelaces. Watched as she wiped down the counter, humming softly to herself. Then, the bell above the door jingled. 2 small figures burst inside. "Mama!" Mia shrieked, launching herself at Evelyn's legs. Leo followed, waving a crumpled drawing. "Look, I drew our house, and you, and me, and Mia, and Mr. Whiskers." Evelyn laughed, sweeping Mia into her arms, kissing Leo's forehead. "It's beautiful, sweetheart. We'll hang it on the fridge." Victor's breath caught. He stepped back instinctively into the shadow of the awning. But it was too late. Mia turned, looked right at him. Her green eyes, her mother's eyes, narrowed. "Mama," she whispered, clutching Evelyn's neck. "The lost man is back." Evelyn froze. Slowly, she turned. Their eyes met. No words, no smiles, no pretense. Just recognition, and something darker. Warning. She set Mia down gently, took Leo's hand, walked to the door, opened it, stepped outside. The autumn air bit between them. "You're not welcome here, Victor," she said, voice low, steady, lethal. He swallowed. "I just wanted to see you." "You saw me," she said. "Now leave." His gaze flickered to the children, wide-eyed, clinging to her legs. "Are they—" he began, voice cracking. "Mine," she cut him off. "Only mine. That's all you need to know." He flinched. "You didn't think I could do it, did you?" she whispered. "Have a life. Be happy. Be a mother. Without you." He didn't answer, because the truth he hadn't. He'd thought she'd break, that she'd crawl back, that she'd beg. Not this. Never this. "Who's their father?" he asked, voice raw. She smiled then, cold, sharp, triumphant. "No one you know. No one who abandoned me. No one who measured my worth in ovulation charts and bank statements." He stepped closer. "Evelyn, don't." Her voice cracked like a whip. "Don't say my name like you have the right. You lost that right the moment you left that letter on my vanity." He looked down. Shame burned in his chest. "I didn't know about the pregnancy," he whispered. "The one you lost. I swear to God. Evelyn, I didn't know." She laughed, bitter, broken. "You never asked. You were too busy building towers to notice I was bleeding in silence." He had no defense, no excuse, just regret. Thick, suffocating, final. Leo tugged Evelyn's sleeve. "Mama." "Who is he?" She knelt, pulling both children close, shielding them with her body. "Someone from a story that ended a long time ago," she said softly. "It's not a nice story, but it's over." Mia peeked around her shoulder. "Is he the bad man?" Evelyn didn't answer. Didn't need to. Victor heard it, felt it. The bad man. He took a step back. "I won't come back," he said hoarsely. "Not unless you say it's okay." She stood, looked him dead in the eye. "Don't hold your breath." He walked away, didn't look back, couldn't. His hands shook, his vision blurred. His heart, that cold, mechanical thing he'd spent a lifetime hardening, cracked open like dry earth in a storm. He got into his car, sat in the driver's seat, didn't start the engine, just sat, staring at the cafe window, at her, at them, laughing, living, loving. Without him. You're there, standing beside Victor in the shadow of that awning, feeling the autumn chill seep into your bones, tasting the bitterness of his regret like copper on your tongue. You see Evelyn's spine straighten, not in fear, but in warrior stance. You feel the heat of her fury, the ice of her control, the fire of her love for those children burning brighter than any rage. You want to scream at Victor, "Leave them alone! You don't deserve this pain. You chose it." But you also really see him for the first time. Not the tycoon, not the monster, just a man, broken, bleeding, begging silently for a mercy he knows he doesn't deserve. And the children Leo and Mia, they're watching him too. Not with fear, with curiosity, with innocence, with the terrifying, beautiful ignorance of children who don't yet know how cruel the world can be. And that's what destroys him, because they don't hate him, they don't know him, they're not his, and they never will be. The camera lingers on Victor's hands gripping the steering wheel, white-knuckled, trembling, on his reflection in the rearview mirror, hollow-eyed, unshaven, a ghost of the man who once commanded boardrooms and empires. On Evelyn, back inside the cafe, pouring hot chocolate for her babies, laughing like she's never been hurt, like she's never been broken, like she's never been abandoned. And you're holding your breath, because you feel it in your bones. He won't stay away. He can't. He'll come back, with questions, with demands, with lawyers, with money, with threats. He'll try to claim them, to test them, to own them. And Evelyn, she'll fight, with everything she has, with everything she's become. Because this isn't about him anymore. It's about Leo. It's about Mia. It's about the life she built from ashes. And she will burn the world before she lets him touch it. The screen fades to black, but the tension, it coils tighter, like a spring, like a storm, like a mother's love, fierce, silent, unstoppable. And you're not ready for what comes next. But you can't look away, because Evelyn S. and now, Carter's voice on the other end of the line, low, urgent. "I found something." Victor sat up, his pulse hammered in his throat. "Talk." There's no hospital record, no pediatrician under her name. But Carter paused. "I dug into the women's health clinic in Brookfield, the next town over. Found a nurse who remembered her. Quiet woman, paid cash, no insurance. Asked for anonymity." Victor's breath caught. "Go on." "She underwent 3 rounds of IUI, intrauterine insemination, donor sperm, anonymous. Clinic destroyed the donor file after the live birth. Standard policy for anonymity." But Carter's voice dropped. The nurse remembered something else. "What?" "She came alone. Every time. Even after the positive test. Even for the ultrasounds. Even when she was 8 months pregnant and waddling like a penguin. She walked in alone, smiled, paid cash, and left alone." Victor closed his eyes. Alone. She'd done it all. The hope, the fear, the pain, the joy, alone. While he sat in boardrooms, while he signed deals, while he built monuments to his own name, she was growing life, and he was building tombs. "Twins?" he asked, voice hoarse. "Natural conception after IUI," Carter confirmed. "Rare, but possible." Nurse said. Evelyn cried when she saw the second heartbeat. Said she whispered, "2 miracles. Just for me." Victor's chest cracked open. 2 miracles. Just for me. Not for legacy. Not for him. For her. A rebellion. A reclamation. A resurrection. He didn't hang up. Just sat there. Phone pressed to his ear. Rain drumming against the window. Carter spoke again, hesitant. "There's more." Victor didn't answer. Just waited. "The donor." "Victor, it wasn't random." His blood turned to ice. "What do you mean?" "The clinic uses a coded system. Letters and numbers. Standard. But this donor, his code, D7819. It's flagged in their internal notes. Repeat donor. High demand. Ivy League. Athletic. Blue eyes. No familial contact permitted." Victor's breath stopped. "Pull the full profile," he whispered. "I did," Carter said. "It's you." Silence. Thick. Suffocating. Victor's hands trembled. "No," he breathed. "That's impossible." "It's not," Carter said gently. "Before you married Evelyn, you donated. Once. At Stanford. during your MBA, for cash. You probably don't even remember. Victor did. Vaguely. A clinic on campus. A form. A check for $800. A joke with his roommate. Someday, I'll have a secret army of genius babies. He'd forgotten. Until now. Until this. Evelyn, she chose you, Carter said quietly. Not knowingly, not intentionally, but statistically, genetically, she picked a donor with your traits. Intelligence, height, eye color, athletic build, and the system. It gave her you. Victor dropped the phone, clattered to the floor. He didn't pick it up, just stared at the wall, at the photos, at Leo's grin, his grin, at Mia's nose, his nose, at the way Leo tilted his head just like him. They weren't just hers, they were his, biologically, genetically, irrevocably, and she didn't know. Or did she? He drove through the storm, didn't care about the speed limit, didn't care about the rain blurring his vision. He parked 2 blocks from her cottage, walked the rest, soaked to the bone within seconds. He stood at the edge of her garden, lavender still blooming stubbornly in the cold, and stared at the warm yellow light spilling from the windows. Inside, he could see them. Evelyn, kneeling by the fireplace, helping Leo glue glitter onto construction paper. Mia, curled on the couch with a picture book, feet tucked under a quilt. A home, a real home, built without him, but with his blood, his DNA, his children. He didn't knock, didn't speak, just stood there, watching, listening, to Mia's giggle, to Leo's dramatic sigh as he spilled glitter everywhere, to Evelyn's soft laugh. It's okay, sweetheart, we'll clean it up together. He pressed his forehead against the cold glass, whispered, they're mine. And for the first time in his life, Victor Langford, destroyer of empires, builder of legacies, wept without shame. Not from joy, not from victory, from awe, from terror, from the crushing weight of realization. He had a son, he had a daughter, and their mother, she would rather die than let him near them. You're there, standing beside him in the freezing rain, feeling the cold seep into your bones, tasting the salt of his tears mixed with rain on your lips. You hear Carter's voice echoing in your mind. She picked you. Not on purpose, not consciously, but the universe it knew. It gave her back what he threw away, in the form of 2 tiny, perfect souls. And you feel it, the seismic shift, the ground breaking open beneath him. This isn't about regret anymore. This is about blood, about rights, about fatherhood. And Evelyn, she has no idea. None. And when she finds out, the war won't be about custody. It'll be about betrayal, about biology, about the cruelest twist of fate, that the man who abandoned her is the father of her miracles. Inside, Evelyn looked up, frowned, walked to the window, peered out, saw him, standing there, drenched, shattered, staring at her children like they were the sun and the moon and every star he'd ever wished on. Her blood turned to ice. She pulled the curtains shut, turned the lock, walked to the fireplace, gathered Leo and Mia into her arms. Time for bed, my loves, she whispered, voice steady, hands trembling. But Mama, we're not sleepy, Leo protested. I'll read you an extra story, she promised, kissing his forehead. Mia yawned. Can you read the one about the dragon who cried? Of course, Bug. She carried them upstairs, tucked them in, sat between them, reading in the soft glow of the night light. But her mind, it was downstairs, at the window, at him, watching, waiting, knowing something she didn't. You feel her fear, not the old fear of being controlled, of being discarded. This is worse. This is the fear of a mother who senses a predator at the edge of her den, who doesn't know his next move, who doesn't know what he knows, who doesn't know how much he knows. And Victor, he's no longer the scorned husband. He's the biological father. And in the eyes of the law, that changes everything. The camera lingers on Evelyn's face as she closes the storybook, kisses her babies goodnight, and tiptoes out of the room. She doesn't cry, doesn't scream, just walks to her bedroom window, peers through the blinds. He's still there, kneeling now, head in his hands, shoulders shaking. Not a threat, not a monster, a man, broken, begging for what forgiveness, access, love she doesn't know. And that's what terrifies her, because men like Victor, they don't break, they bend. And when they do, they come back stronger, smarter, deadlier. She pulls the curtains closed, leans against the wall, slides to the floor, hugs her knees, whispers to the darkness, "What do you want from me now?" No answer, just the rain, just the silence, just the dread, coiling, tightening, waiting. And you're holding your breath, because you feel it in your bones. The storm isn't outside anymore. It's inside the house, inside her heart, inside his mind. And when it breaks, no one will be safe. Not Evelyn, not the twins, not even Victor, because some truths, they don't set you free. They destroy you. He sat in his car, parked across from the elementary school, engine off, hands gripping the wheel like it was the only thing keeping him from flying apart. He watched the mothers arrive, bundled kids tumbling out of minivans, backpacks bouncing, lunchboxes clutched like treasure. Watched the teachers greet them at the gate, warm smiles, high fives, crouched down hugs. Watched her, Evelyn, wearing jeans and a red scarf, holding Leo's hand in one, Mia's in the other, walking slowly, deliberately, like she was savoring every step. She stopped at the gate, knelt, straightened Leo's dinosaur shirt, brushed Mia's hair from her eyes, kissed them both, forehead, nose, cheek. A ritual, a blessing, a shield. "Be brave today," she whispered. "We're always brave, Mama," Leo said, puffing his chest. Mia hugged her tight. "Love you to the moon and back. Love you more," Evelyn whispered. She stood, turned, and saw him, standing 10 feet away, not hiding, not lurking, just there, waiting. Her face didn't change. No gasp, no flinch. No fear, just ice, cold, sharp, lethal. She walked toward him, didn't stop until she was inches away. Her voice, low, controlled, trembling with fury, cut through the morning air like a blade. "What are you doing here?" He didn't step back, didn't look away. "I had to see them again," he said, voice raw. "I had to be near them." She laughed, short, bitter, broken. "You don't get to be near them. You don't get to show up like some tragic ghost and stare at my children like you have any right." "I have every right," he said, voice rising. "They're mine, Evelyn. Biologically, genetically, they're mine." The world stopped. The birds, the wind, the chatter of children. Even the trees seemed to hold their breath. Evelyn went very, very still. Her eyes, those green, knowing eyes, locked onto his, and in them not shock, not confusion, rage, pure, white-hot, maternal. She grabbed his arm hard and yanked him away from the school gate into the shadow of the oak tree, out of sight of the children. "You dare," she hissed, voice shaking. "You dare stand here and claim them after you threw me away, after you called me infertile, like it was a disease, after you left me that letter like I was a failed investment." He didn't pull away. Let her dig her nails into his skin. Let her fury burn him. He deserved it. "Evelyn, I didn't know. You didn't ask," she screamed, tears finally breaking free, streaming down her cheeks. "You never asked if I was okay. You never asked if I was scared. You never asked if I was hurting. You just walked away. And now you show up and say they're yours, like that erases everything, like that gives you permission." He swallowed. "I'm not asking for permission," he whispered. "I'm asking for a chance. To know them. To be something. Anything. Even if it's just the man who brings them ice cream on Sundays." She released his arm, stepped back, wiped her tears with the back of her hand, looked at him like he was a stranger, worse, like he was a threat. "You want to know them?" she asked, voice trembling but clear. "Then listen, and listen well." She took a deep breath. "I chose to be a mother alone because I refused to let my worth be measured by your legacy. Carried them. I birthed them. I fed them. I rocked them through fevers. I kissed their nightmares away. I taught them to say please and thank you and I love you. I am their first word, their safe place, their whole world. And you, she pointed at him, finger shaking. You are nothing to them. A shadow, a rumor, a ghost from a story they don't need to hear. He flinched. Evelyn? No, she cut him off. You don't get to say my name like you still own it. You don't get to stand here and pretend you're their father. Fathers show up. Fathers stay. Fathers love. Not when it's convenient, not when it's profitable, but when it's hard. When it's messy, when it's ugly. You ran. You chose your empire over my heart, over my body, over my soul. And now, she laughed, broken. Now you want a piece of what I built from your ashes over my dead body. He didn't speak, didn't move, just stared at her. At the woman he'd broken, who'd rebuilt herself into something fiercer, stronger, more beautiful than he could have ever imagined. I'm not asking to take them from you, he whispered. I'm asking to be part of their lives, even if it's from the edges, even if it's just watching them grow up. She shook her head. No, Evelyn. No, Victor, she said, voice final, absolute. You don't get to rewrite history. You don't get to insert yourself into a story you abandoned. They are mine, and I will protect them with everything I am, with everything I've become. If you come near them again without my permission, I will disappear. And this time you'll never find us. He believed her, because she wasn't bluffing. She wasn't broken. She was a storm, and he was standing in the eye of it. Leo's voice broke the silence. Mama, who's that man? They turned. Leo and Mia stood a few feet away, backpack still on, eyes wide, confused. Evelyn's face softened instantly. She walked to them, knelt, pulled them close. No one important, sweetheart, she said, voice gentle now, warm, safe. Just someone who got lost. Mia frowned. He looked sad. Evelyn hesitated, then looked up at Victor, really looked at him. And in that moment she saw it. Not the tycoon, not the monster, the man, the broken, bleeding, begging man who'd lost everything, including himself. And for the first time she felt it. Not pity, not forgiveness, but recognition. He was suffering, and it was his own fault, but suffering nonetheless. She stood, took Leo's hand, took Mia's, walked past Victor without another word. But just before she reached the school gate, she stopped, didn't turn, just said, quiet, cold, final. If you ever want to be more than the lost man, start by being someone they can trust, not someone they fear. Then she walked away, didn't look back. Victor stood there, alone. The schoolyard buzzed around him. Children laughing, teachers calling names, bells ringing. But he heard none of it, just her voice. Start by being someone they can trust, not someone they fear. He closed his eyes, whispered to the wind. How no answer, just silence, and the weight of his choices, crushing him. You're there, standing beside him under that oak tree, feeling the sting of Evelyn's nails on your skin, tasting the salt of her tears in the air, hearing the crack in her voice as she screams the truth he refused to see. You want to hate him, you do hate him, but you also see him shattered, begging, human for the first time. And the children Leo and Mia, they're watching, not with fear, with curiosity, with innocence, with the terrifying, beautiful ignorance of children who don't yet know how cruel the world can be. And that's what destroys him, because they don't hate him, they don't know him, they're not his, and they never will be, unless he changes, really changes, not for power, not for legacy, but for them. The camera lingers on Victor's face as he watches Evelyn walk away, spine straight, children clinging to her hands, sunlight catching her hair like a halo. He doesn't follow, doesn't call out, just stands there, alone, in the wreckage of his own making. And you're holding your breath, because you feel it in your bones. This isn't over. It's only just begun. And the twins, they're the prize, the miracle, the reckoning. And Victor, he's about to learn the hard way that some things can't be bought, not even with an empire, Not even with regret. Not even with love. Because Evelyn, she doesn't fight for herself anymore. She fights for them. And that makes her unstoppable. The screen fades to black, but the tension, it coils tighter. Like a spring, like a storm, like a mother's love. Fierce, silent, unstoppable. And you're not ready for what comes next. But you can't look away. Because Evelyn, not with lawyers or threats or demands. He came in jeans, in a worn leather jacket, carrying a paper bag from the toy store in the next town over, the one with the creaky wooden floor and the smell of bubblegum in childhood. Inside, a remote-control dinosaur for Leo, a glittery unicorn journal for Mia, and a box of their favorite cookies, double chocolate chunk, the kind Evelyn always bought on Fridays. He didn't go to the school, didn't wait outside her cottage, didn't lurk in shadows. He walked straight to the park. The same oak tree, the same swing, and he waited. Evelyn saw him from a block away. She was walking the twins home from the library. Leo chattering about volcanoes, Mia clutching a stack of picture books like they were sacred texts. She stopped, gripped their hands tighter. "Mama," Leo asked. "Why are we stopping?" She didn't answer, just stared at him, sitting on the bench, not hiding, not pretending, just waiting. Mia tugged her sleeve. "Is it the lost man again?" Evelyn exhaled. "Slow, steady. Stay close to me," she whispered. They walked forward. He stood as they approached, didn't smile, didn't reach out, just held up the bag. "I brought them something," he said, voice quiet, careful. "No strings, no expectations, just because." Evelyn didn't move, didn't speak. Leo, ever curious, stepped forward. "What is it?" Victor knelt, slowly, deliberately, so he was eye level with the boy. "A robot dinosaur," he said, pulling it out. "It roars, and it has laser eyes." Leo's eyes widened. "Whoa!" Mia peeked from behind Evelyn's leg. "What did you bring me?" Victor smiled, small, hesitant, and pulled out the journal. "A place to write all your secrets and draw all your dreams." Mia took a step forward. "Does it have sparkles?" "Lots of them." She grinned. Evelyn's heart pounded. Not from fear, from fury, because he was good at this. Charming, gentle, patient. The man he'd never been for her, he was becoming for them. And that was the most dangerous thing of all. "Take it," she said, voice cold. "Then go." Victor didn't move, just looked at her. "Can I watch them play for 5 minutes? I'll sit over there." He pointed to a bench 20 feet away. "I won't speak. I won't interfere. Just watch." She wanted to say no, wanted to scream, wanted to grab her children and run. But Leo was already holding the dinosaur, pressing buttons, giggling as it roared. Mia was flipping through the journal, tracing the sparkles with her finger. They were happy, and he hadn't touched them, hadn't forced anything, hadn't claimed anything, just given, and watched, and waited. She hated him for it, hated how easy he made it look, hated how her children's smiles were the weapon he was using against her. 5 minutes, she said, voice tight. "Then you leave, and you don't come back unless I say so." He nodded. "Thank you." He walked to the bench. Saturday. Didn't look at them, didn't speak, just watched, like he was memorizing every detail. Leo ran to the slide, dinosaur in hand. Mia sat under the tree, journal open, crayons scattered around her. Evelyn stood nearby, arms crossed, spine rigid, eyes never leaving Victor. He didn't move, didn't speak, didn't even smile, just watched, with a look she'd never seen on his face before. Wonder, like he was seeing magic for the first time, like he was witnessing something sacred. And it terrified her, because wonder, it wasn't temporary, it wasn't performative. It was the beginning of wanting, of needing, of loving, and if he loved them, he'd never let them go. 5 minutes passed, then 10. Evelyn didn't call time, couldn't, because Mia had walked over to Victor, stood in front of him, held up her journal. "Look," she said, voice bright. "I drew our house, and Mama, and Leo, and Mr. Whiskers." Victor leaned forward, studied the drawing, smiled real soft, awed. "It's beautiful, Mia," she beamed, then tilted her head. "Are you the bad man?" The world stopped. Evelyn's breath caught. Victor froze. Leo stopped mid-slide. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Victor didn't look away, didn't lie, didn't deflect, just looked at Mia. Really looked at her, with eyes full of regret and truth. "Yes," he whispered. "I was." Mia frowned. "But you're not anymore," he hesitated. Glanced at Evelyn. Seeking permission, forgiveness, guidance, she didn't give it. Just watched. Waiting. He looked back at Mia. "I'm trying not to be," he said, voice raw. "I made mistakes. Big ones. I hurt someone I loved very much. And I'm trying to be better. For her. For you. For Leo." Mia studied him, then nodded. "Okay, you can stay for one more drawing." She walked back to the tree. Victor exhaled. Shaky, relieved, shattered. Evelyn's eyes burned. Not from tears, from fury, because he'd done it. He'd slipped past her defenses. Not with money, not with power, but with honesty, with humility, with the terrifying, disarming truth. And her daughter had given him a second chance. Just like that. You're there, standing beside Evelyn, feeling her fury simmer beneath her skin, tasting the bitterness of her fear like ash in your mouth. You see Victor, kneeling in the grass, voice breaking as he admits, "I was the bad man." You feel Mia's innocence, pure, unguarded, merciful, as she offers him grace he doesn't deserve. You want to scream, "Don't trust him. Don't let him in. He'll break your heart like he broke hers." But you also see it, the change in him, the way he looks at them, not like possessions, not like legacies, like miracles, like gifts, like his. And that's what scares you most. Because love, it doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't wait for forgiveness. It just grows. And if he loves them, he'll move heaven and earth to keep them. Even if it destroys Evelyn. Even if it destroys himself. Leo ran over, dinosaur roaring. "Watch this," he shouted, making the robot charge at Victor's shoes. Victor laughed. Real, surprised, alive. He played along. Made the dinosaur chase him. Pretended to be scared. Leo shrieked with laughter. Mia joined in, drawing a new picture. The dinosaur battle. Evelyn didn't move, didn't smile, didn't stop them. Because what could she do? Lock them in the house, tell them the man who gave them gifts, who played with them, who admitted he was the bad man, was still a monster? They wouldn't believe her. Because children, they see truth. Not past, not reputation, truth. And right now, Victor's truth was gentleness, was presence, was trying. And that was the most dangerous thing of all. The sun dipped lower, shadows stretched. Victor stood, brushed grass from his jeans, looked at Evelyn. "I'll go," he said, voice quiet. "But can I come back next Saturday, same time? I'll bring more cookies." She didn't answer, didn't need to. Leo shouted, "Yes, bring the robot." Mia waved. "And more sparkles." Victor smiled, small, hopeful, grateful. He walked away, didn't look back. Evelyn knelt beside her children, gathered them close. "Why did you let him stay, Mama?" Leo asked, still buzzing with excitement. She hugged them tight, whispered, "Because sometimes people deserve a chance to be better." "But you said he was bad," Mia said, frowning. "I did," Evelyn admitted. "And he was. But people can change. Not all of them, but some. And if they do, we have to be brave enough to see it." She didn't believe her own words. Not yet. But she said them anyway. Because her children, they deserved a world where redemption was possible. Even if it terrified her. Even if it broke her. You're there. Feeling the weight of her surrender, not defeat, but choice. She's letting him in. Not for him. For them. And that's the beginning of the end. Because Victor, he won't stop at cookies and toys. He'll want bedtime stories, school plays, soccer games. He'll want to be dad. And Evelyn, she'll have to decide. Does she fight him or does she let him love them? And if she does, what happens to her, to the life she built, to the peace she fought for? The camera lingers on Evelyn's face as she watches Victor disappear down the path. Shoulders lighter, steps surer, hopeful. She doesn't cry, doesn't scream, just holds her children tighter and whispers to the wind, "God help me." And you're holding your breath because you feel it in your bones. This isn't over. It's only just begun. And the twins, they're the prize, the miracle, the reckoning. And Victor, he's about to learn the hard way that some things can't be bought. Not even with an empire, not even with regret, not even with love. Because Evelyn, she doesn't fight for herself anymore. She fights for them. And that makes her unstoppable. The screen fades to black, but the tension, it coils tighter. Like a spring, like a storm, like a mother's love. Fierce, silent, unstoppable. And you're not ready for what comes next. But you can't look away. Because Evelyn, she sat at the kitchen table, wrapped in an old sweater, fingers curled around a mug of chamomile tea gone cold. She didn't drink it, just stared at the steam that wasn't there, at the silence that pressed against her ribs like a hand, at the memories, sharp, sudden, slicing through her like glass. Flashback. 5 years ago, she was on the bathroom floor. Again, knees pulled to her chest, tears silent, streaming, blood on her thighs, on the tile, on the towel she'd pressed between her legs, praying, begging for it to stop. The pregnancy test lay beside her. 2 pink lines. 6 weeks. A miracle. And now slipping away. She didn't scream, didn't call for help, just rocked back and forth, whispering, "No, no, no. Please no." Her phone buzzed on the sink. Victor. Bored dinner running late. Don't wait up. She didn't answer. Couldn't. Because who would she tell? Who would care? The housekeeper, the assistant, the doctor who'd said, "We'll try again next cycle." Like it was a business transaction. No one. No one but her. Alone. Bleeding. Breaking. Flashback. 4 years ago, she sat in the clinic again. Same chair. Same hum of fluorescent lights. Same nurse with the too bright smile. But this time she wasn't crying. Wasn't begging. Wasn't hoping. She was deciding. Dr. Rivera leaned forward. "Evelyn, I won't lie to you. Your body's been through trauma. Emotionally. Physically. Another round of IVF with your own eggs, the odds are less than 1%. Even donor eggs, it's not guaranteed. Your uterus is scarred. Your hormone levels are unstable. You'd need months of prep." And even then, Evelyn didn't flinch, just stared at the wall, at the poster of a smiling mother holding a newborn. "Then we skip IVF," she said, voice steady. "Go straight to IUI. Donor sperm. Anonymous. 1 round. If it doesn't take, I walk away." Dr. Rivera hesitated. "Are you sure you've been through so much? Maybe take a break." Evelyn looked at her then, eyes blazing, voice trembling but clear. "I've spent 5 years healing for him, smiling through pain, pretending I was okay, letting him measure my worth in failed pregnancies and empty cribs." She stood. "No more. I'm not doing this for Victor Langford. I'm not doing this for his legacy. I'm doing this for me, because I deserve to be a mother, even if I have to do it alone." Flashback. 3 years ago, the needle, cold, sharp, sliding into her thigh. She didn't wince, didn't cry, just breathed. In. The hormones burned through her veins like fire, made her nauseous, made her weep at commercials, made her rage at the sky, but she kept going. Every night, alone, in the dim light of her tiny bathroom. No one to hold her hand, no one to rub her back, no one to whisper, "You're doing amazing." Just her, and the mirror, and the woman staring back, hollow-eyed, determined, alive. Flashback. 2 years ago, the test. 2 pink lines. She didn't scream, didn't jump, didn't call anyone, just sat on the edge of the bathtub, hands trembling, heart pounding, whispered, "1." Then the ultrasound. 2 heartbeats, fast, strong, thump thump, thump thump. She burst into tears, not happy tears, triumphant tears. The nurse smiled. Twins, rare with IUI, but it happens. Evelyn laughed. Broken, wild, beautiful. 2 miracles, she whispered. Just for me. Flashback 1 year ago labor. 23 hours. No epidural. No Victor. No family. Just Maggie, holding her hand, whispering, "You're so strong, honey. So damn strong." Leo came first, screaming, furious, perfect. Mia followed, quiet, watchful, wise. Evelyn held them, cried over them, kissed their tiny fingers, whispered promises into their downy hair. "I'll never leave you. I'll never let anyone hurt you. I'll never make you feel unloved. I'll never measure your worth in anything but your heart." Present. Evelyn set the cold mug down, stood, walked to the living room, picked up Mia's glittery journal, flipped to the last page. There, in Mia's wobbly handwriting, "Today I met the lost man. He gave me sparkles. Mama says he was bad, but he said sorry. I think sorry is magic. Fixes things. I drew him in my book. He's smiling. I hope he comes back." Evelyn's breath caught. Tears burned her eyes. Not from sadness, from fear. Because Mia was right. Sorry was magic. Could fix things. And that was the most terrifying thing of all. Because if Victor truly changed, if he became the man her children deserved, what right did she have to keep him from them? Even if he broke her, even if he left her, even if he made her bleed alone on a bathroom floor, what right did she have to deny them a father? She walked to the window, peered out. The moon hung low, full silver, watching. Somewhere out there, Victor was driving back to his rented room, thinking of Leo's laughter, of Mia's sparkles, of her fury, of her fear, of the fragile, terrifying bridge he was building. One cookie, one toy, one honest word at a time. And Evelyn, she was standing on the edge of a cliff, holding her children's hands, wondering if she should pull them back or let them run toward him. You're there, sitting beside her at that kitchen table, feeling the cold seep into your bones, tasting the bitterness of her tea, hearing the echo of her sobs from 5 years ago. Raw, silent, shattering. You see her not as the woman who left, but as the woman who fought, who bled, who injected herself alone in the dark, who carried 2 lives inside her broken body, who pushed them into the world with no one but an old widow holding her hand. You want to scream, "Don't let him near them. He doesn't deserve this. He doesn't deserve you." But you also see Mia's drawing. The lost man, smiling. Sorry is magic. And you feel it, the shift, the crack in Evelyn's armor. Not surrender, but doubt. What if he is changing? What if he can be better? What if her children deserve more than her pain? She walked to the fridge, pulled out the cookies, opened the bag, took one, bit into it. Chocolate, sweet, familiar, Leo's favorite. She closed her eyes, whispered, "God help me," not because she was weak, but because she was strong enough to face the truth. Love wasn't simple, forgiveness wasn't linear, and family, it wasn't always born. Sometimes it was rebuilt, from ashes, from blood, from glittery journals and robot dinosaurs, from sorry, from I was the bad man, from can I come back next Saturday. The camera lingers on Evelyn's face as she stares at the moon, tears streaming silently, cookie in hand, Mia's journal open on the table. She doesn't wipe her tears, doesn't hide her fear, just stands there, alone, with her truth. And you're holding your breath. Because you feel it in your bones, this isn't over. It's only just begun. And the twins, they're the prize, the miracle, the reckoning. And Victor, he's about to learn the hard way that some things can't be bought. Not even with an empire. Not even with regret. Not even with love. Because Evelyn, she doesn't fight for herself anymore. She fights for them. And that makes her unstoppable. The screen fades to black. But the tension, it coils tighter. Like a spring. Like a storm. Like a mother's love. Fierce, silent, unstoppable. And you're not ready for what comes next. But you can't look away. Because Evelyn's dinosaur roaring somewhere in the living room and froze. Not Victor. Eleanor Langford, Victor's mother, the woman who'd sat beside her at galas, who'd patted her hand when the fertility treatments failed, who'd whispered, "You're stronger than you know, dear." The night Victor announced their separation in front of 500 people, she stood on the porch now, silver hair swept into a neat chignon, cashmere coat buttoned to her throat, eyes red-rimmed and glistening. She didn't speak, just looked at Evelyn, at the flower on her cheek, at the glitter on her sleeve, at the life, messy, loud, alive, humming behind her. Then she crumpled, not dramatically, not with sobs, just folded, like a flower closing at dusk. Her hand flew to her mouth. Tears spilled over. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "Oh, Evelyn, I'm so sorry." Evelyn didn't move, didn't invite her in, didn't shut the door, just stared at the woman who'd once called her daughter, at the woman who'd stayed silent while her son destroyed her, at the woman who'd sent condolence flowers after the miscarriage. Lilies of all things, with a note that read, "These too shall pass." "What are you doing here, Eleanor?" Evelyn asked, voice low, careful. Eleanor swallowed. "I found out about the twins." Evelyn's blood turned to ice. "Victor told you." "No," Eleanor whispered. "I hired my own investigator. Victor doesn't know I'm here." Evelyn's grip tightened on the doorframe. "Why?" Eleanor stepped forward, just one step, close enough for Evelyn to smell her perfume. The same one she'd worn at Evelyn's wedding. Jasmine and vanilla. Expensive. Familiar. "I needed to see them," Eleanor said, voice breaking. "I needed to see you, to tell you I never agreed with what he did. I begged him not to leave you. I told him he was throwing away the best thing he'd ever had." She wiped her tears with a trembling hand. "But he didn't listen. He never listens. Not to me. Not to anyone." Evelyn didn't speak, didn't move, just watched, waiting. Eleanor took a shaky breath. "May I see them just for a minute?" "I won't touch them. I won't speak. I'll sit on the porch. I'll leave when you say." "Please, Evelyn. I'm not here for him. I'm here for you. For them." Leo's voice broke the silence. "Mama, who's that lady?" They turned. Leo stood in the doorway, dinosaur in hand, eyes wide. Mia peeked over his shoulder. "She's pretty," Mia whispered. Evelyn exhaled. "Slow, steady. Stay here," she said, stepping onto the porch, pulling the door mostly closed behind her. She faced Eleanor. "You have 5 minutes." Eleanor nodded, grateful, trembling. She sat on the porch swing, the same one Evelyn had painted herself, the same one where she'd rocked the twins to sleep when they were newborns. Evelyn opened the door. "Come here, loves." Leo and Mia stepped out, curious, unafraid. "Leo, Mia," Evelyn said, kneeling beside them, voice gentle. "This is Eleanor. She's Victor's mother. My former mother-in-law." Leo tilted his head. "So, Grandma." Eleanor's breath hitched. Mia studied her. "You look sad." Eleanor smiled, small, watery. "I am, but I'm happy too, because I get to see you." Mia walked forward, fearless as always, and held up her journal. "Look, I drew the lost man, and Mama, and Leo, and Mr. Whiskers." Eleanor took the journal with trembling hands, stared at the drawing, at the stick figure Victor smiling, holding a cookie, at Evelyn, tall, strong, crowned with a sun, at Leo and Mia, tiny, radiant, surrounded by hearts. Her tears fell onto the page. "I'm in here too," Mia said, pointing to a tiny figure in the corner. "Silver hair, blue dress. That's you. I didn't know your name, but I knew you were family." Eleanor sobbed, quiet, broken, beautiful. She looked up at Evelyn. "I didn't know," she whispered. "I didn't know they were his, biologically, until last week, when I found the donor records." Evelyn went very, very still. "You knew?" Eleanor nodded. "Victor donated sperm at Stanford, before you married. The clinic matched his profile. Height, intelligence, color, athletic build." She looked at Leo, at his nose, his grin, his wild hair. "It's him." Isn't it? Evelyn didn't answer. Didn't need to. The truth was written in Leo's laugh, in Mia's thoughtful gaze, in the curve of their chins. Eleanor closed the journal, held it to her chest. I won't tell him, she whispered. Not unless you say it's okay. This is your story to tell, not mine. Evelyn stared at her, at the woman who'd sent lilies, who'd stayed silent, who'd let her son break her, and now offering her silence, her loyalty, her love. Why? Evelyn asked, voice trembling. Why protect me after everything? Eleanor looked at the twins, at Leo, making his dinosaur roar at a ladybug, at Mia, braiding a dandelion chain for her journal. Because they're innocent, Eleanor said, voice thick with tears. And because you deserved better, from all of us. 5 minutes passed, then 10. Eleanor didn't move, didn't speak, just watched, with wonder, with awe, with the quiet, desperate love of a grandmother who'd been denied her grandchildren for 5 years. Leo climbed into her lap, bold, fearless, and showed her how the dinosaur's laser eyes worked. Mia sat beside her, adding silver glitter to the drawing of Grandma Eleanor. Evelyn didn't stop them, didn't pull them away, just watched, heart pounding, not from fear, from grief, because Eleanor, she wasn't the enemy. She was another victim, of Victor's pride, of his legacy, of his cold, calculating heart. And now she was here, not to take, not to claim, but to love. And that was the most dangerous thing of all. You're there, standing on that porch, feeling the autumn chill, smelling the jasmine perfume, hearing Eleanor's quiet sobs as she stares at Mia's drawing, at the stick figure family that includes her, even though she doesn't deserve it. You see Evelyn not as the woman who left, but as the woman who survived, who bled, who fought, who built a life from ashes, and now facing the woman who stayed silent, who sent lilies, who let her son destroy her, and offering forgiveness. No, not forgiveness, understanding. Eleanor stood, hugged the journal to her chest, looked at Evelyn. Thank you, she whispered, for letting me see them, for letting me be part of this, even for 5 minutes. Evelyn didn't speak, didn't move, just nodded. Eleanor turned to the twins. Goodbye, my darlings, she said, voice trembling. I'll come back, if Mama says it's okay. Leo waved. Bring cookies. Mia hugged her leg. And more sparkles. Eleanor laughed, broken, beautiful. She walked to the gate, stopped, looked back, at Evelyn, at the twins, at the life she'd been denied. I'm sorry, she whispered again, for everything. Then she walked away, didn't look back. Evelyn knelt beside her children, gathered them close. Why did you let her stay? Mama, Leo asked, still buzzing with excitement. She hugged them tight, whispered, because sometimes people deserve a chance to love you, even if they failed someone else. But you said she was bad too, Mia said, frowning. I did, Evelyn admitted, and she was, but people can change. Not all of them, but some. And if they do, we have to be brave enough to see it. She didn't believe her own words, not yet, but she said them anyway, because her children, they deserved a world where redemption was possible. Even if it terrified her, even if it broke her. You're there, feeling the weight of her surrender, not defeat, but choice. She's letting Eleanor in, not for her, for them. And that's the beginning of the end. Because Eleanor, she won't stop at cookies and sparkles. She'll want birthdays, holidays, sleepovers. She'll want to be grandma. And Evelyn, she'll have to decide. Does she fight her, or does she let her love them? And if she does, what happens to her, to the life she built, to the peace she fought for? The camera lingers on Evelyn's face as she watches Eleanor disappear down the path. Shoulders lighter, step surer, hopeful. She doesn't cry, doesn't scream, just holds her children tighter and whispers to the wind, God help me. And you're holding your breath, because you feel it in your bones. This isn't over. It's only just begun. Just him, jeans, worn boots, a paper bag, sometimes cookies, sometimes books, sometimes art supplies, once a tiny potted lavender plant, because Mia said Mama loves lavender. He didn't speak unless spoken to, didn't touch them unless they reached for him first, didn't push, didn't claim, just showed up and watched. Evelyn let him, not because she trusted him, but because her children lit up when they saw him. Leo would sprint across the park, dinosaur roaring, shouting, "You brought the robot again." Mia would run to him with her latest journal entry, drawings of dragons, castles, the lost man and the sparkle queen, and demand he read it out loud with voices. Victor obeyed, made the dragon roar, made the queen whisper, made Leo howl with